Assalamu alaikum. This is the first lecture in neuroanatomy. This will be short, focusing on the main terms regarding the nervous system. Neuroanatomy is the study of structure and organization of the nervous system. For the nervous system can be defined as a complex network of nerves and cells that carry message to and from brain to the rest of the body. So the nervous system either receive or send information. Contain two main parts: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system contain two main parts, contain the spinal cord and the brain. This is the brain and this is the spinal cord. Both will form what we call it the central nervous system. The peripheral nervous system contain nerves and other supporting cells that branch throughout either the head, contain the cranial nerves, or the rest of the body through the spinal nerves. So, the cranial nerves, spinal nerves will form the peripheral nervous system that communicate the central nervous system with the other part of the body. إذن الجهاز العصبي بشكل عام يحتوي على الجهاز العصبي المركزي الذي يحتوي على الدماغ والحبل الشوكي، والجهاز العصبي المحيطي الذي يشمل الأعصاب القحفية والأعصاب الشوكية. So, the central nervous system controls the whole body through the peripheral nervous system. The nervous system composed of two groups of cells, either the neurons or the glial cells or supporting cells. The neurons are the fundamental unit of the nervous system. This diagram shows the neurons contain the body and the axon with the dendrites. إذا تلاحظون الأرقام اللي موجودة مقابل كل تعريف مقابل نفس التعريف الذي موجود في الشرح. هنا دندرايتس رقم 3، دندرايتس رقم 3 بالنسبة للدايجرام. فإذا الوحدة الأساسية للجهاز العصبي هي الخلية العصبية أو يسموها nerve cells or neuron. Neurons 3 types: either sensory neurons أو تسمى بالafferent neurons or motor neurons or efferent neurons or interneurons Sensory or efferent neurons are the neurons that are responsible for receiving sensory information. إذن الأعصاب التي تستلم المعلومات هي الأعصاب أو الخلايا العصبية الحسية. The neurons that send information called the motor neurons or efferent neurons. Neurons that relay the electrical signals at every step called the interneurons. Interneurons is the neurons that connect or communicate between different types of neurons. فإذا الخلايا العصبية يا إما حسية وهي التي تستلم المعلومات أو حركية وهي التي ترسل المعلومات. بالنسبة للأناتومي of cells مجرد ذكر الشغلات العامة لأن التفاصيل راح يكون موضوع الهيستولوجي، بس مجرد إنه نعرف هسه بأنه الخلايا أو نيورونز متكونة من body. The body will branch into a single process called the axon and multiple process called the dendrites. The dendrites receive the impulse and send it through the axons. At the end of axons, there is what's called the synapses that communicate with other neurons through the neurotransmitters. Other types of cells is the glial or supporting cells, cells that work to support, nourish, insulate, and remove of waste products. In the central nervous system, 4 types of supporting cells. These are the astrocyte, oligodendrocyte, microglia, and ependymal cells. While in the peripheral nervous system, there is only one type of supporting cells, and it's called the Schwann cells. The details of these cells will be discussed more in the histology. بالنسبة للمحاضرات الأولية بالنيورواناتومي راح نتطرق إلى general principles of the nervous system, the organization of the nervous system in general. And to understand that, we should understand certain terminology. A nerve fiber means an axon or dendrite. A nerve fiber means an axon or dendrites. Most likely the axons. This nerve fiber, if form a bundle in the peripheral nervous system, this is what we call it a nerve. And this is on the right, the diagram of the nerve. This is the axon. إذا تلاحظون الإطار اللي موجود اللون الأحمر، هذا المربع هو يعادل المربع اللي هنا ينذكر بالشرح. فإذا النيرف فايبر اللي هو الأكزون هنا نيرف فايبر اللي هو الأكزون. This is one nerve fiber. This is one nerve fiber. Multiple nerve fibers forms a bundle. Multiple bundles form what we call it a nerve if they are in the peripheral nervous system. These nerve fibers, if they located in the central nervous system, what we in the brain or in the spinal cord, we call it the nerve tract. Nerve tract. إذن nerve fiber اللي هو مجرد axon or dendrite, most likely the axon, if form a bundle, and this bundle located in the peripheral nervous system, we call it a nerve. This bundle, if located in the central nervous system, I mean in the brain or the spinal cord, we call it a nerve tract. Nerve tract. And this example of the tracts. نفس الشيء بالنسبة للمربع الأحمر. تشوفونه the description of the nerve tract. This is a bundle of nerve fiber and the central nervous system. This is the brainstem, and this is the upper part of the spinal cord. This is the central nervous system. يجينا مصطلح the white matter. White matter and the gray matter. White matter consists mainly of myelinated axons of a neuron in the central nervous system. White matter and gray matter both located in the central nervous system. يعني معناته موجودة عندنا بالبرين، هاي الصورة مال البرين، أو بالسباينال كورد. عندنا the gray matter وعندنا الوايت matter. الواي matter consists mainly of the myelinated axons. The axons that form the nerve fiber either myelinated or unmyelinated. Mainly, the myelinated axon will form the white matter, while the gray matter mainly formed by the neurons or the cell body of the neurons or unmyelinated parts of it. فإذا الوايت ماتر شوفوها هنا بالنسبة للبرين بالنسبة لهنا spinal cord formed mainly by myelinated axons, while this is the gray matter. This is the gray matter. In the brain, it's formed mainly by the body of a neuron or unmyelinated parts of it. Then the nuclei. What are the nuclei? Nuclei clusters of cells body in the central nervous system. Okay? The cell body, if collected in the central nervous system, it forms what we call it a nuclei. This is the brain and this is spinal cord. Central nervous system either consists of the brain or spinal cord. This is example the radionucleus or cerebellar nuclei contain of a cluster of nerve cell body. And this is the nuclei in the spinal cord. If the clusters of the cell body located in the peripheral nervous system, we call them ganglia. We call them ganglia. Peripheral nervous system either contain the cranial nerves or the spinal nerve. Spinal nerve will connect the central nervous system with the rest of the body, while the cranial nerve will connect the central nervous system with the head. The collections of cell body of the neurons, we call it a ganglia if located in the cranial nerves or in the spinal nerves. While the collections of cell body in the central nervous system, I mean either in the spinal cord or in the brain, we call it the nuclei. So, the neuron that consists of a cell body and axon, a cell body and axon. This cell body, if form a cluster and located in the central nervous system, we call it a nuclei. But if this cell body of the cluster of a neuron located outside the central nervous system, I mean in the peripheral nervous system, we call it a ganglia. The axon of the neuron, if located in the central nervous system and form a bundle, this is called a tract. But if located outside the central nervous system, I mean in the peripheral nervous system, this is what we call it a nerve. The last term is the peduncles. Peduncles are large tracts that emerge from certain region of brain. إذن البيدانكلز tracts. The tracts مثل ما قلنا, they are a cluster of axons in the central nervous system. These tracts, if they emerge from certain region of the brain, they form what we call it a peduncle. This is the base of the brain in the diagram. And this cluster or bundles of tracts form what we call it the cerebral peduncle. Cerebral peduncle. And this, the bundles of tracts that came out of the pons, part of the brainstem, and connected with the cerebellum, we call it the cerebellar peduncle. And cerebellar peduncle, this is one of them, and this is the middle cerebellar peduncle. Then, the peduncles form from clusters of large tracts and connect various regions of brain. تفاصيل راح ناخذها بعدين من ناخذ الريجنال anatomy of the brain. محاضرتنا قصيرة كونها أول محاضرة كمقدمة في الجهاز العصبي، لأن المحاضرة الثانية اللي إن شاء الله نعطيها باكر راح تكون مهمة جدا عن the organization of the nervous system in general. Thank you very much.